Our next section is looking at the actual borescope process. So here's an example of an engine, and here's an example of the borescope procedure for it, telling you how to access different parts of that engine. And when we put them side by side, you can see the picture here, the sketch here and the picture kind of match. This bleed port right here is right up in this top left corner. You can see kind of this bar that goes down the side with the various unison rings. Only vocab from last semester, right? So this is the compressor section with all the little, what are the little turn? You remember what those are? You got unison rings, and they're going to operate the what? The variable stator vanes. Yep. So this engine has certain areas you access. Here you would remove the bleed duct, right, to get to what they say B1-8 and B1-9. We look at that, B1-8 is it's really hard at this angle, but the 8th stage leading edge, or we can look at the 7th stage trailing edge. We can look at the 9th stage trailing edge, the 9th stage leading edge, right? You see how that works to get to different stages? And then going along the length of it, sometimes we use existing openings like bleed ports and such. Sometimes there are plugs installed specifically to give borescope or scope access. You'll hear the term borescope used. For the most part, industry today, we're using video scopes, high resolution video scopes like the one that can do measurement you saw. Okay. So yes, borescopes, video scopes are different. Industry's gone pretty much exclusively to video scopes. You can capture pictures, you can take measurements, they're higher resolution, you're looking at a screen instead of trying to look through a tiny eyepiece, right? So you have those ports. Here's another example of an engine, right? Showing any idea what they would be going in through right here? Anyone tell what we got going on? So we're inside a combustion liner, looking towards the turbine, the first turbine stage nozzles, the guide vanes, right? It's an igniter port. So, using an opening that's already there, you might be able to come in, you might be able to put one of those specially bent tubes to come in down here into the fuel nozzle area, if it's depending on how much of a bend you got to have, right, through that fuel nozzle. But in this case, it's an igniter port, which would allow you to inspect these nozzles, probably allow you to inspect the combustion liner on the inside. If you don't insert the borescope as far, you can probably inspect the outside of the combustion liner, right? So there's different accesses. So here's that same engine showing several different ports. Some of them, again, are things like the igniters. Some of them are dedicated plugs. Here's the igniters, dedicated plugs, other various ports on, compressor ports and stuff. So there's the engine, and you kind of put them side by side. These bottom ones here, like this igniter port, when you go up and look at the engine, the igniter port is right here. There's our igniter plug coming in. It's shown on the diagram below, right? So you'll use roadmaps like that to help you look at certain areas of the engine. Okay. Nice part, nowadays, most of these manuals have gone to actual color photographs in them rather than line drawings with things, arrows and circles and stuff like that, to make it even easier to find some of this stuff. You all saw in turbines class when you were trying to identify stuff on the JT9, the line drawings were wonderful, weren't they? Those are awesome from Pratt & Whitney on the JT9. Yeah, that's all photographs nowadays on a more modern manual. Okay. Now, as we do this though, remember we talked about things like focal length and magnification. We have to keep in mind that we may perceive things differently. Naked eye versus a borescope or a video scope, me looking at it versus you looking at it. So, you have to sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get into the headspace to perform these inspections. Okay, and really, sometimes you really got to look at something to kind of figure out what's going on. Am I looking at the right component? Am I looking the right direction? What is up and what is down? You saw with these scopes, even out, things could get flipped around pretty easily. Now imagine inserting it into an engine and trying to keep straight of what, which way what is. You need to look for clues. Where's the blade tip? where is the fuel nozzle? Where's the, different things like that. So, you can see we've got, is it a 6 or a 9, right? What does everyone see right here? What? Couple faces looking at each other? Anyone see anything different? A vase, right? So are you looking at the black or the white? And then below that is the optimist and pessimist. Is the glass half full or half empty? So things that can affect this, the light. So we're able to adjust the light level of our scopes, right? Is it bright enough? Is it too bright? Is it so bright that it caused a flashback? You saw how bright that light can be coming out the tips of those scopes, right? Probably gave some of you black spots just sitting here. Imagine if you've got a lens right up to your face that reflects right off of a shiny surface. What do you think you need to do if you experience a flashback event? Probably take a break. Let the black dots and everything clear so you're not obstructing your vision. I even have some now because I get these lights every now and then when I'm looking around. Color can obscure the image. Many internal components. Think about engines. Everything in there is like steel, titanium, and right? Lots of gray on top of gray on top of gray on top of gray, right? What about in an airframe? What color do you see? You're looking inside of an aircraft, parts of an aircraft. What color do you see everywhere? A lot of wires, okay. What else? What about the structure? What color is the structure? Green on top of green on top of green on top of green, right? Because of the corrosion resistant primer. So, sometimes color can throw you for a loop. It can also be sometimes hard to discern two different things that are next to each other but happen to be the same color. Am I looking at a turbine blade or am I looking at a turbine nozzle? Am I looking at a fan or a compressor blade or a compressor stator, right? So, and then geometry, curves, angles, holes, overlaps, and layers, those can be distorted by it. I mentioned orientation. Are you viewing it? What angle are you looking at it from? Are you looking from above, below? Is it right side up or upside down? Which way is the scope pointed? Which way is up? Which way is it articulated? Right? And then what are you familiar with? What are your expectations? Finally, things like equipment issues. I told you we don't use this little one anymore because it's been dropped a couple times. And sometimes you really can't get, I don't see an image in it. There's a little tiny bit of light you can see once in a while if you get it at the right angle. But you're definitely not going to be inspecting anything with it. Okay, are the electronics okay? Is your battery good? Okay, so here's our next one. Which one's different? Think they're all the same? What's everyone else say? What's that? Okay. D is different. Okay, if you look kind of the main part here, right? This one comes over into the right. This one comes down to the right. This one is flipped around, but it's this piece here and it comes to the right. If you were to like look at it from that way. Okay, and then it goes up, that goes up, that goes up, and then to the left 3, to the left 3, to the left 3. So A, B, C are the same. This one, you got the long section here where these all go to the right, this one goes down. And when it goes up, instead of going to the left, up, left, this one goes to the right. It'd be fun to have some models of these, like have little models that can pass around. Okay, so D is different, A, B, and C are all the same here. But you're looking at them from different angles, so it can make them look different, or it can make D even look the same, even though it's not, right? It's hard to tell. How about this one? And we're looking at length here. Are they all the same length? What's the longest? What's the shortest? Are they all the same? Are some of them the same and some of them different? Now, this was a lot easier when I had the TV in the other room because I could put the tape measure. I'm trying to figure out, I need a ladder or something here. What's that? C is the shortest? I don't know if my E is the shortest. How long C? Can you tell there?
Oh, yeah.
Just short of 11. What if it's going to be hard to do E because my tape measure is going to want to collapse. What if I do F? I can compare to F here. F is Oh, F is 13. Well, they're not the same length, right? I'm not going to be able to do all of these. I got a cheat sheet though. So C is the shortest. Then A is next. Then D, E, and F are next, and they're all equal to each other. And then B is the longest, but B looks really short because it's divided, right? But B is actually the longest. If you get up there and measure it, it's longer than the other. Well, it depends on, I mean, I'm blowing it up here, it makes the differences bigger. If you look at it on my screen down here, you almost need a set of calipers to like get the difference. You're looking at an angle too, right? Yeah, so you're looking at it from the left, and you guys are looking at it from the right, and we're all looking at it from below, but if you look at it straight on, right? So you got to keep that in mind when you are when you're looking at things that, things are the same. And so the example I have is here. This is a combustion liner, and I've actually got a combustion liner. You're going to inspect a combustion liner. But you can see how this would be a similar type of scenario. So each of these segments on this combustion liner are relatively similar in width, right? There's the longer ones down here at the end, but most of these are pretty similar in width. But if you were looking at it from a borescope, if you guys want to, after we're done, get a scope, put it at the end, and you'll see this happen. If I'm looking at it from over here, even without a scope, these ones now look wider than the ones at the far end. Okay, if you look at it from an angle. It also, but the scope adds the fact that you have a lens, right, that has a focal length, and that's going to affect the magnification at different distances. Okay, so, that's what the outside looks like. If you look at it straight on, you put a scope in, and it looks something like this. The things that are closest to the scope look further apart because they're magnified. The sections that are further away look closer together because they're made to look smaller. And you can see the holes, which are circular, actually look oval. So kind of look for this effect. In fact, this combustion liner is very much almost identical to this combustion liner. Two slight differences. If you find them during your lab, you get extra credit. So if you want to, when we're just playing around, you're welcome to stick borescopes into this. Just don't open it. Or what we call our mystery box at the bottom. Those are two of the things you're going to do when you do your lab. But I bring them out. You can play around with them. But this liner is so that you can kind of orient yourself when you're looking at the one that's inside this box. That down there, you're going to have to map it without any kind of a reference besides you can measure like the outside of the box. That's about it. Or you can measure how far you inserted your scope or what angle you put the scope at. Okay. Last slide. What's the rock doing? This is my floating rock. My floating rock. What if I flip the picture over? I promise it's the exact same picture. You have a rock in the water is reflecting the trees in the background. But since the water is so still and it's a pretty good reflection right here, it looks like the rock is floating. What's that? It's not photoshopped. Oh, and it's this way. Yeah, it looks photoshopped this way, but I promise it's not. It's just the same picture flipped. Ta-da. Okay. So Charlie got it. If again, if you're looking at something in a borescope and your borescope gets rotated, right? Or you're looking at it from the opposite side, it could cause some of these weird things to happen. So you got to keep that in mind when you're doing these inspections. That's it.